Hello and welcome to this episode of Point Counterpoint. We are here to discuss and deliberate issues that are always of concern, and as we have continued doing so in this program called Point Counterpoint, we come back to you again and again with so many issues that people are fighting for and fighting against. After all, this is a forum where we bring to you struggles of people in their fight against the vagaries of the system, and the fact that these fights are almost endless and ongoing. What we are here to discuss is not the issues per se, though that will come into the realm of the discussion, but the underlying trend that has happened and continues to happen in Goa is the knocking on the doors of the judiciary for every issue that Goans have now, and the fact that the judiciary, along with sections of the responsible media, seem to be the only pillars that offer some hope, succor and solace to people who are agitating for the land. Also, let us remember that all the issues that we will take up today and what we've taken up earlier, they are not personal issues of anybody. They are not about neighbors fighting. It's not about property disputes between brothers and so on and so forth. Each and every issue that we have taken up and people have discussed have nothing to do with personal interests of anybody, any organization agitating. This is all to do with our destruction of our land, our forests, our ecosystems and so on and so forth. And that is where the crux of the matter lies. And with so many petitions in court, so many PILs, so many suo motu things taken up, so many writ petitions filed, all of them are testament to one underlying fact, that the judiciary has become the last port of call. At times it's the first port of call, because no other doors seem to be opening when they are knocked. And that is what we need to take cognizance of. If you look at three major issues that have dominated the headlines in the recent past, we will touch upon those as as handles to start this discussion. One, of course, is the large-scale illegalities we have seen in the Anjuna Panchayat. Of course, Arambol is also there. That is another issue. There's so many issues everywhere. But the shocking part is there are 175 odd structures that are blatantly illegal. The High Court has ordered them to be struck down. And even post that, there's a lot of resistance against an order given by the High Court. And one has actually seen that these illegal structures are not ordinary structures. They are actually large-scale business establishments that are functioning without the consent to operate, without different kinds of licenses. And if you recall, many of these establishments are also under scrutiny for sound violation, noise pollution case. That's one. Secondly, of course, we have seen in the dramatic manner in which the ODPs of Para, Kandoli and these areas. Now, all these ODPs, initially they were suspended, then they were kept alive, and then right now they were made literally alive again. Till again it needed the court's intervention to scrap them. Then there is agitation happening in Old Goa against gross irregularities, including the bungalow. Then now we have the resort, and everywhere, wherever there has been these kind of activities happening, activists, the Save Old Goa Action Committee has risen. Now the latest battle is on this whole issue of this resort, which is coming up, and that has again become an issue. So often one has seen lower courts, quote unquote, seeming to not give the justice that they are expected to give, as per the petitioner. They've moved to the higher court, as we have seen in the Old Goa issue. So anyway, we have a lot to unpack, and we have a very eminent panel of dedicated people who have continued to fight under the banner of the organizations and also individually. So I will start with architect Armin Ribeiro, who's closely followed the regional plan and other models of development, and of course he will have a thing or two and more to say about the nature of our planning process and what has happened to it. Armin, welcome. Next to him, of course, is somebody we wanted to have on our show for a long time, Advocate Om De Costa, who of course is with the Goa Foundation, and he's one of the fiery young advocates fighting a lot of these cases in court. The ODP, which I referred to being one example of one of his recent battles that he's fighting on behalf of the Goa Foundation. Anna Grace is, of course, again another person who needs literally no introduction. She's been one of the important faces and activists fighting in old Goa in that illegal bungalow matter, and also with regard to this resort issue. And it is important that that agitation also gets highlighted, because ultimately it's happening in a very serious heritage precinct, and instead of being protected, that very area is being destroyed. It's like striking at the core of the essence of Goan heritage. And of course, we have the veteran RTI activist and much more, Shriram Bab Raiturkar, welcome. He has, of course, been there and done that, fought many cases and battles in South Goa, but the one of the most recent one is on the Margao ODP, when a lot of challenges were done to the ODP, litigation was done, and it's a battle some may say is a losing one, but he has obviously not lost hope and goes on fighting. And last but not the least, of course, Ravi Halmarkar, who's again been somebody who's been there fighting on the ground in Anjuna, in Arambol and all these places against illegal hill cutting, then flouting of different construction laws, and of course on these illegal structures issue, he's of course been a very big supporter. I will start with Om because I want to take up the ODP issue first, and then the other issue. See, the issue here is that what is interesting, and you will be able to tell us a little more, and how the court intervention was needed and what you've got. See, I'm saying this not because you all don't know it, but just to do a recap for our viewers. In 2022, the ODPs of Kalangud, Kandoli, Arpura, Nagua and Para, they were suspended because of large-scale
grave
emergencies, correct? Yes. So let us understand this, that they were actually suspended. Then in June 2022, the member secretary of the North Goa PDA, Mr. R.K. Pandita, as per the directions of a review committee which was constituted to look into these illegalities, he filed a report to the chief town planner, okay, essentially saying on all these zoning and conversion changes. And that communication was very serious, because he had indicted key officials and politicians in directly supervising these zone changes through verbal orders.
Yes,
that's correct. But and what did the court say about this communication that they got? They said this communication, which means Mr. Pandita's letter to the CTP, where he talks about the zonal changes, this communication, I'm quoting the court order now, this communication makes very depressing reading. The communication gives a glimpse into the preparation of ODPs of these 5 villages and the extent of illegalities involved in their preparation. These are the court's words. And of course, just to quickly go through, then the review committee that looked into these illegalities, it presented its report. And what happened there, one would assume that with so many illegalities, the suspensions of these ODPs would be formalized, and the suspension would be intensified into scrapping them completely. But what happened? Instead of suspension, they were partly revived. Okay, so this is the irony of the situation. Okay, and then of course, what the Goa Foundation, Om's organization, said that out of 434 survey numbers, 401 survey numbers were illegal. So all this is happening in this backdrop. Okay, and then of course, suddenly after all this, on the 13th of December 2022, what happens? All the ODPs get approved. So from suspension to approval via a review committee which actually says illegalities are happening. You understand the irony of the gross irony and the arrogance of this decision making. Then what happens is, I'm just going into a little detail because the chronology samjhiye, as the famous saying goes, we have to understand this. Then after the ODPs were approved, 3 days later, there's one notification comes where the government withdraws from these ODPs, which means and reverting back to the regional plan. This is so 13th ODPs are approved, 16th government withdraws from the ODPs, and on the 22nd, all happening in December, pre-Christmas. they are essentially saying is that the approved ODPs, now the issue is now the next direction comes that the scrapped ODPs were there, then convert to regional plan. 5 days later saying no, the earlier approved ODPs will be followed for all conversions. So this is literally a joke. You scrap an ODP, then you withdraw, first you approve the ODP, then you withdraw from the ODP, and then you say no, you follow the ODP. All happens in a span of 1 week, literally, one week or 10 days. Okay. So all this is, the reason why we are saying is, the court took cognizance of all this, the High Court said, and they actually said, and these are very important remarks, and then I'll go to other issues, and I mean ask Om to dwell on this. The comment of the court is, prima facie, all these activities which I just referred to, they are a backdoor subterfuge to reinstate the ODPs and suspend the RTP 2021. I'll just pause here. My question to you is, without the court intervening, what would have been the situation? In the sense that unless you went to court, the whole idea is the court has to come again and again to our rescue. So in the sense that, do you find any other way apart from the court helping this, and what has been your experience?
No, Sujay, I do not think so.
Okay.
But before I can answer your question, I'd just like to comment a bit about the chronology which you have laid out.
Right.
And trust me, it is as peculiar and complicated as it sounds.
Right.
Because what happened is in April 22, when they suspended the ODPs,
Right.
on account of grave emergency, this is the words in the Gazette,
Right.
they formed this review committee.
Right.
Review committee submits its report in July 22,
Right.
pointing out the massive illegalities and discrepancies in the report.
Right.
And lists around 434 survey numbers,
Right.
which according to them were wrongly or illegally zoned contrary to the RP.
Right.
The government in August 22 accepts this report, notifies it in the Gazette, saying
Right.
we accept this report and we are suspending these two ODPs
Right.
of Kalangut, Kandolim and Para Arpuranako.
Yeah.
And then they set up another committee to, as you said, look at and perhaps rectify these changes and see how these reports can be incorporated into the ODP.
Right.
And the first major issue is after all this process, the ODP which comes to be notified on 13 December 22 has the exact same problem as what the review committee has found.
Right.
So of the 434 changes which were highlighted by the review committee, 401 were retained in the so-called new ODPs as well.
Right.
This was the first problem.
Right.
The second problem is, as you said, merely 3 days after this new ODP is published, the planning areas of Arpura, Para and Kalangut Kandalim are withdrawn.
Right.
Now, as per the scheme of the Town Planning Act, once you withdraw an area as a planning area, you have to revert back to the RP.
Right.
Because ODPs only apply to planning areas.
Right.
So, if you, at this point now, without this circular coming into force, you would have to go by the original plan for all proposals.
Right.
Now, for reasons best known to the government, within a week later on 23rd December, the Chief Town Planner issues a circular directing the North Goa District Office for all proposals which are considering conversion, subdivision, technical clearance, you follow the ODPs notified on 13 December. Now, this was a very peculiar situation because once your planning areas are withdrawn, ODPs no longer apply.
Correct.
But at the same time, the CTP is telling the office, you follow those ODPs.
But how can a circular supersede a notification?
That is exactly the question which the court considered, and that is perhaps why the court makes the comment that this seems to be a backdoor method of ensuring that the ODPs apply to the areas which are not planning areas.
Right.
And now to answer your question as to what would have been the recourse, we did try making a representation in the government. We wrote to the Chief Town Planner pointing out the problems with this particular circular and informing him that this is not correct as per law.
Correct.
As usual, we did not get any response, which seems to be the case in most of our petitions.
That's my point.
And if the court had not intervened and passed this order, you would continue to have orders being passed under these ODPs, magnifying the same inconsistencies and errors found by the review committee.
Right.
You've got residential areas being changed to commercial, eco-sensitive NDZ in Orchard being changed to settlement, tenanted fields being changed to settlement, and a whole lot of other issues. So that would have been chaos, to say the least.
Yeah. I mean, just to come to you, see, you look at it from the macro point of view, and essentially on how, I mean, the doors of the court are need to be knocked. But what is fundamentally, of course, Om has also mentioned, what is overall broadly, where do you see the whole system collapsing, the planning system collapsing?
I think to begin with, there is no planning. Yeah, the other part is that the participatory mechanism is almost dismantled, and all that the planning and development authorities are engaging are with interest groups. Yeah?
Right.
And these are the people who have got interest in real estate. They've got interest in manipulating the whole thing to favor themselves and to get whatever they want over there. So this is basically where everything goes wrong. Besides that, all the regulations, the act is constantly being interfered with. Yeah. So if you ask me, I think in the last 2 years or 3 years, we have had something like 4 or 5 amendments in the act. In the regulations, they've been putting out regulations, withdrawing regulations, putting out regulations. So there is a definite failure, from the government side to be actually looking at planning seriously. And it seems to be now completely overtaken by these interest groups and who are dictating terms to the government.
See, failure to look at planning seriously is, it is still wrong. It is still wrong. It is still a betrayal of the people's mandate.
Yes.
But that is something, that is wrong and that is sad. But what we feel is, what is even more critical, do you feel? So it's not just about the failure to plan properly. What it now seems is the manner in which the planning process, as you said, is totally cast aside.
Yeah.
And all decisions are being taken according to the whims and fancy of the need of the hour and who you need to please, probably.
Absolutely.
This is the feedback that one has got. It has got nothing to do with rules and regulations, what you do, because what is happening is that rules and regulations laid down is not even impediment to this decision making. So rules and regulations and all these things do not come in the way of arbitrary decisions. So which is why the court needs to come in. But what I am saying is that the court, don't you think that the court process also is a long drawn out process? It doesn't happen immediately, and rightly so. Also, court needs to get into so many issues. Don't you feel that, or do you feel that there is a thinking that let the matter go to court and drag on, while the court decides, let things go on the manner that we are doing. Ultimately, the court will come down at some point of time, but we will buy this time and do what we want. Do you feel that is also happening?
Yeah, I think
Yes.
I think you are correct in this, because I have seen that the moment, and I won't be surprised if a number of those files are, which are waiting for the zone change, are approved in a very short span of time, and the construction is completed also. So that hastily, so that it meets those deadlines that they understand would be the time by which the court would turn around and act against those cases. Yeah, I don't know. Also, there seems to be a huge amount of arrogance from the departments and the people in the government involved, because they have now understood that they can play the system to manage what they need.
Shriram, I don't have a new question. I'd like you to react to what I just asked.
Has not become ATM, has become OTM, one-time money. Change the zones for 5 years, and they make money so much, even that they can serve their grandchildren. Now, as far as Margaon is concerned, it is already saturated.
Right.
Only now agriculture and Komandadi lands are there. Now, what they do is that while taking all the inputs from the departments,
because they will get the Komandad lands, tenanted lands, they never plotted.
So you're saying inputs are never taken from the agriculture department?
Agriculture, telecommunications.
Right.
CRZ, Margaon CRZ.
reversal.
Yes.
I know one project is approved, school, whatever it is, showing it as Nala.
What is being shown as Nala?
Reversal is shown as Nala.
Okay.
So that 50 meters central of the line distance, you cannot construct anything.
Tell me about the Margaon ODP. What has been your experience with the Margaon?
Margaon ODP, it just every new person comes. Chairman is always a MLA or minister, whatever it is, of ruling party.
Right.
Everyone comes, 5 years they change it.
Right.
First they do is how to make ODP. It should be made for 10 years, after 10 years.
Right.
They see that ODP is somewhat prepared. They take the help of section 39(1), which state that it is only for minor changes in public interest.
Right.
You cannot change the zone. It is not in public interest. Then they go on changing these zones.
Taking recourse to this.
Yes.
Then 35, and one mischief they are playing for last so many years. Under section 35, objections should be invited from the general public. In the gazette, they put suggestions.
They don't use the word objection.
They use. stroke suggestions. That means everyone can suggest. Now ODB is prepared by the expert.
Right.
They know the density, population, traffic management, whatever it is, they prepare. Now I have to only object that this is not proper. I cannot suggest that you make my zone as a commercial zone. That's why they add suggestion. There is nowhere in the act there is word suggestions. Only objection, you object. Everyone, I want my plot. So settlement is there. I want to commercial zone because it will fetch me more prices.
Right.
No, there is no suggestion. Suggestions if you take, entire process will be defeated. Density, population, traffic, everything will be defeated.
Correct. So these suggestions are overriding detailed planning.
Yes.
Casual suggestions.
How they can adopt these suggestions?
Right. And I'll come to your old Goa fight. So, see, the Supreme Court, I think in September, they had issued a notice because you all had filed a petition, and you basically challenged the order of the Bombay High Court, which essentially it quashed the demolition order of the ASI. In fact, look at a situation where the Archaeological Survey of India said this illegal bungalow that is coming up, that needs to be demolished. The High Court quashed that particular order on the grounds that everybody should be given a chance to respond and everybody's point of view has to come in and so on and so forth. On those grounds it was done. And then of course the Supreme Court decided to issue notice, but they have not yet quashed the High Court order, right? No. Okay. So if you could just tell us a little bit about this is just a little background, but about your entire this old Goa agitation and the number of doors that you had to knock before finally knocking the door of the...
To tell you the truth, there is a mess that people are blaming the panchayat for all this.
Right.
Now, when a project is coming up,
right,
okay, it comes first to the TCP actually.
Right.
They are the people who just goes on giving the permissions. Now, when all these permissions are granted by the TCP, they send a technical team to see and to observe which place this bungalow is coming up. Now, are these people blind? They are violating CRZ. They are touching the wall of the logo. All these things they had to take into consideration and not permit this bungalow.
Right.
So, I justify that there is something going on with the builder and the officials who have visited the site and who has confirmed that they can build it.
Right.
Now, regarding this permissions also, there is a side complaint saying that these permissions obtained by these people are forged.
Right.
And a complaint was already lodged in the police station as well as a panchayat.
Right.
Now, I want to ask the government why action was not taken on those documents, because this was clear-cut forgery, which the owners themselves, they told. It is not that the people are saying, or we did not prove, the activists did not prove.
Right.
The owner herself, they went to the police station and they claimed that my signatures are forged.
Right.
Now, in spite of these complaints, why did the police did not act? Why did the panchayat did not act? The matter was closed. So, I was the one who was sitting for Satyagraha, as you all know.
Yes.
And sitting for 26 days, I realized that I'm just wasting time here because my cry will not be heard. And I moved out and I went into RTIs and I found this document. Now, we have recently, under the guidance of Advocate Sahil Sardesai, we have lodged a complaint in Old Goa police station. And you know what is the reply? I got the matter is closed.
The reply is matter is closed.
The matter is closed. I have knocked to the SP, the Panjim police station, everywhere. I went to the IGP, everywhere. All my documents are there, but my cry was not heard. Then automatically I have to go to the courts. And that is how we activists have to knock the doors of the club. Actually, this is a clear-cut evidence where you can demolish this.
Absolutely, correct.
Because the documents state that her signatures are forged. So, if the signatures are forged, then the whole permissions that they have obtained,
they're null and void.
Is null and void.
Yeah.
So, why are we dragging this case in the courts?
And while this is happening, is the construction still going on?
No, the construction for now is stopped.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the bungalow still stands.
Yeah.
I mean, the under construction.
I would just add another incident in
Yeah.
Kankona, where our speaker's wife is a sarpanch. In a 20-point program, a constable by name Sagar Moraskar, he asks for permission with the panchayat with from another plot, but constructs in another plot. So now these two plots can belong to a government servant who is earning lakhs of rupees. Okay, leave that aside. Now these two plots, they have not done any permissions of what obtained from the panchayat. There is no permission at all. And then when we complained, there was no answer to our complaints. So we had to knock the High Court. So the High Court said that whatever the facts are there, that it should go for demolition. So they have directed the panchayat to give a demolition order.
Right.
After giving a stop notice, the demolition order, I have evidence with me here.
Right.
Still the work is in progress.
Right.
So we have even filed a caveat in the High Court, in the DOP. There, in spite of giving all this evidence to the DOP, and I'm running from day one to the DOPs to stop the work, still nothing has been done.
Right. Right.
So now whom we should blame? The secretary, the DOP, or whom? So now again back to
So now
court.
you move to the Supreme Court finally, no?
No, now this case is in the High Court. About Kankona, this is in Supreme Court.
The
yeah.
Old Goa case.
Old Goa in
Okay.
Supreme Court, yeah.
Your Anjuna issue is extremely important. I'll just quickly flag this, where the High Court has finally ordered the sealing of these 175 illegal structures. But what is most interesting here is that it almost seemed that the Anjuna Panchayat is hand in glove with the illegal establishments rather than with the people. That is the cry that we are getting from the people there. Because the issue is, what they have done is that the High Court order, the recent High Court order, very clearly talks about the role played by the panchayat, and that is why we keep on going back to the High Court, because the High Court is the one that seems to be speaking the voice of the people always. Because the court has actually what is interesting here is that these 175 structures were asked to be demolished. None of them had any permissions, any licenses, and so on and so forth. But after the court first ordered that these demolitions have to happen, for almost 1 year, the panchayat did not even act on it. Even after getting the directions from the court, the panchayat did not touch these illegal structures. And shockingly, there were 3 resolutions passed by the panchayat which actually resolved not to go ahead with the show cause notices given to these 100 and that is where the surprising part was, that the panchayat actually withdraws from giving show cause notices after being directed by the High Court to do it. I mean, all of these are, you can write books on these stories actually. Each of them is a book. It's not a chapter, it's a book. So then of course, in April 23, the court again took cognizance of this inaction for over a year by the panchayat, and they intervened and they set aside these resolutions that the panchayat took. And they asked the panchayat to issue fresh notices, correct? Now all this is happening. Now, after the final order of the court saying, no, all this cannot go on, that you need to go ahead, dispose of the show cause notices, and then finally, but they also said that those illegal structures that have been directed to be given, you first ensure that they don't function anymore. There are bars, there are restaurants, there are so many things that are happening. They're saying, first stop their functioning. Because on a daily basis, they are actually functioning. I know some of these structures, when we have tracked them also very closely. There are some nightclubs that don't accept credit cards or debit cards or whatever, because they don't want to show this. Everything is under cash, or they give you some coupons. So all these things are happening. But anyway, if you can just throw a little more light on this particular case and other struggles in your area, and what have you all done as litigants and activists?
Basically, if you talk about the legalities in CRZ areas, previously, like 20 years before, there used to be a called livelihood.
Right.
Our Goans, who are living in the coastal line,
Right.
was dependent on the tourist.
Right.
I mean to say the foreign tourist.
Right.
After some years, the Indian tourists started coming here. Before, before coming, this Indian tourists who used to come, the all was dependent on the foreign tourists only, and
Right.
there was
Right.
only 6 months business.
Right.
In that 6 months business, we Goan used to do the survive on livelihood. That time there was no violations. Ever since there is a from livelihood it became the business,
Right.
commercial business.
Right.
For that we Goan don't have much money. For that all outsiders came and invested.
Correct. Right. Right.
They came with the money.
Right.
They first targeted the CRZ, saying that I want to build this. They said go ahead. Again that they went with the previous panchayats. Okay, the panchayat said okay, they got their share. Okay, you build it. From livelihood now it became the commercial, and everything is vanished. This is not point of Anjuna. Whole coastline, especially North Goa, is finished. Only because of this Delhi people came over here and they started doing business. Talking to your point of the loud music, same they are doing it. No doubt there's some people who are given it for a rent also, because they are giving 10 lakhs, 5 lakhs high rent, but they have to recover the money. So they do the loud music.
So many of these establishments are still in the name of Goans, but they're given it on lease.
Given
so
to
the
the
sound
lease.
license and other licenses, if they are there, they are in the name of Goans. Sometimes it's not there also.
See, you cannot get the sound license in the shack.
Right. Right.
The maximum licenses which are there
Uh-huh.
are on the shack policy.
Right.
So how he will get the license for the shack?
So how is he playing the loud music?
They are having connivals with the police. They are
Right.
having connivals with the deputy collector, pollution control board. Ever since the matter is in the code, they are having some kind of control, some little bit control, because honorable code cannot go directly and monitor.
Right.
They are giving. They are
But you are
giving
saying the court monitoring has helped.
some instant,
to
some
some
instant,
extent, yeah, okay.
because we also go and fight against them.
Right.
So, but it is very, very, very difficult to cooperate with, or they don't get the authorities don't cooperate with us.
Yes.
They are finding the ways, n number of ways to protect all the illegalities.
Right.
What happens in this? No, some Goans are there, some coastline people. They were doing the good businesses, like the natural businesses.
Right.
They are affected now.
They are also affected.
They are
Correct,
also
correct, correct.
there are businesses over there who
Right.
are before 1992,
Right. Right.
but because of this, all blanket decision came to seal it everything, because there are some loopholes
Yes, we
over
must
there.
talk
yeah.
about that also. What
Yes,
you're saying
yes.
is correct.
Yeah.
Correct, correct. Okay, Om, coming to you, then I'll introduce. See, we've all flagged the various issues, whether it be ODP and this and that. Now, the issue is that, as regards to the High Court or the Supreme Court, can you just quickly flag the important cases or important agitations which have really borne fruit and which is going to go a long way in preventing absolute destruction?
In the
In the recent past, yes.
one case would be this, obviously the most recent case about this circular.
Right,
Then another case which you have discussed is this Anjuna matter regarding structures.
right,
Then last year there was another important decision in the High Court in the PIL filed by one Mr. Ruben Franco.
right,
The High Court dealt with the serious issue of a lot of shacks in all these CRZ areas
Right.
which were discharging their sewage into the water and into the public drains without any sort of consent to operate or anything of that sort. So there the High Court took an important decision where they hold that all of these shacks are required to obtain a consent to operate, order the sealing of all those shacks, and thereafter the shacks remained sealed until they started the process of obtaining the consent from the pollution control board. Just to give you 3 examples.
Okay, but I'll just add this question I'll address
Yes.
to Armin and others also. The piquant situation here is that very often we see the Honorable High Court or the Supreme Court give people-friendly important decisions. Don't you also see a trend that there is an attempt in many ways on how to even nullify those directions, either by inaction, even going to the extent of attracting contempt of court and letting it drag on and on and on. Even the fear of contempt of court is no longer a fear. So even after you get decisions, there is still an exercise to slow it down even further. I would reckon that the whole Tiger Reserve issue is a case in point.
Yeah, I would agree with you to an extent there.
Yes.
Because the difficulty what happens is to get an important High Court order is itself a lot of effort and requires great credit as well. I mean that the High Court has understood this issue and given a verdict in favor of the larger public interest. But unfortunately, a lot of times, as you said, once you get a verdict, either there is inaction taken and the things are just let to fester as they are, or there are some subtle steps taken in a way to avoid fully complying with that order.
That's right.
And it becomes difficult in courts to get anything done under the contempt powers of the court, because there's a very strict threshold for activists or petitioners to prove that this was deliberately done with a malified intent by the concerned department or by the concerned government.
Right.
Which is always very difficult to prove because they've got hundreds of explanations as to why we
Because the
believe this
Tiger
or why we
Reserve
believe
July
that.
order was supposed to have been implemented by 13th November, I think, if I'm not mistaken, around that
Yes,
time.
that's right.
Correct.
Now, of course, they are taking the point of view that they've approached the Supreme Court. But just to give you another example, recently there was this issue of the seafood festival being held at the Miramar Beach.
Correct, absolutely.
Now, in the year 2000, the state government took a decision that we're not going to hold any such festival on Miramar Beach.
That's right.
They give an undertaking to the High Court.
Correct.
And the High Court disposes of the petition in 2000 on the basis of that undertaking.
That's right.
It was a petition filed by the People's Movement for
Yes,
Civic Action.
correct, you're correct.
And
Yes.
subsequently, now when the recent decision was taken to hold a seafood festival in that beach, seemingly forgetting that they've given this undertaking to the High Court, they decide to organize everything. They float a tender, award a tender. When it comes to High Court, the High Court asks them, what explanation do you have about this undertaking you gave to the court? The affidavit filed by that concerned officer in court says, I was not aware of this undertaking given by my predecessor. And that I have no intention to, disobey the orders of the court. Now, ultimately, that proceeding got stayed because the court found a lot of other irregularities in the decision making of that thing as well. But this is the sort of excuses that get put to court.
Right.
I was not aware of this, I was not aware of that, and it's become very difficult to get actual implementation.
Correct. I mean, what do you say about this whole trend of even court decisions getting delayed in implementation, and how does one get away with this?
I'll say something else.
Sure,
all right.
sure.
The thing is that if you look at what's happening in the Town and Country Planning Act and the regulations itself.
Yeah.
So every time there's something, there's 16B is challenged.
Right.
They managed to find 17.2. There's also, besides that, there was already this thing which was lying dormant for some time, which is 17D and 17E. So what's happening is that 17.2 goes into challenge. Now they have obtained 39A. All right. So the government has understood that they can play the system. All right. Now, while the High Court will go very seriously on each of these challenges and put out an order which is either favoring or opposing, the state government has understood that while this is happening, they can open other fronts. And these other fronts are the ones that are really the issue. They're the same thing but packaged differently.
Right.
And they can use this and continuously they can do. I have a feeling they're going to run out of alphabets and numbers.
Sriram, just a quick thing. You can talk about South Goa situation. You can talk about the overall situation. But do you feel that there are literally cases after cases where this long drawn out legal struggle is coming up against a wall? Probably due to the longevity in which they the long time that they take, or as in the case of the Marga ODP, as you mentioned, if I'd like you to elaborate, that while one petition is already being heard or pending in the court against the one ODP, another ODP is notified. Can you just explain this very interesting and piquant situation for the benefit of our viewers?
Somewhere in 2019,
Yeah.
United Goans Foundation has filed a PIL in High Court,
Right.
mentioning all the illegalities,
Right.
like selective area to be changed as commercial zone. Selective. All are settlement only. That is due to this one. Then plotting of road, because if you are doing getting C2 zone, you should have minimum 8 meters road. If you are having C1 zone, minimum 10 meters road.
Right.
They just put the road 8 meters road. It is not possible.
Right.
Hundreds of compound wall has to be demolished. So what that builder leaves that place, goes behind 8 meters road. But what about traffic? That building is having 50-60 cars.
Right. Right.
Road is 3 meters, 4 meters.
So you all raise these objections very rightly.
Yes.
Yeah. And then tell us about your experience, how we all went to court and how the second ODP got
Yes,
notified.
second ODP, now we did not interfere with second ODP because our case in the High Court will
No, but
be
what
weak.
you're saying is while one ODP is pending.
Yes, that is pending and
Yeah.
now they are doing second ODP.
Hmm.
Now here in all these cases I feel, I remember one Mrs. Kiran Dhingra.
Yes, she was the chief secretary. Yes. Hmm.
These things were going on during that time.
Hmm.
Selective zone change from regional plan and all 17 to what 39.
No, but she objected that.
She
time.
stopped it.
She stopped it. Actually.
She
Yes,
stopped
correct.
it. She
Yes.
was transferred to Delhi.
Right.
Now here in the High Court cases also, unless there is some accountability on the person who has approved it, nothing will happen. We cannot afford to go to High Court again and again.
Correct.
They know our weakness. Government knows our. So Chief Secretary has to fix some accountability on this. Now, for example, now Supreme Court, High Court has ordered demolition. PWC say they don't have money.
Demolition of any structure.
Any structure, CRZ or
Right.
they don't have money. We have asked money from CRZ. CRZ is sitting on that. This is all dealing. Sir, they know. See, when they are approving the project in hotel or these officers tell them, see, we will approve the project, it is illegal. He say, I don't mind. You approve. He runs for 5 years. He makes a lot of money. Let it be demolished, he says. I am not bothered. Then he goes to Supreme Court. He still runs it. Now recently High Court has started, I think so, to disconnect water and electricity.
Yeah, but again, as we are saying, the court has had to do it. The system is not doing it.
Yes.
Yes.
This is going on, and by the time it goes to High Court, Supreme Court and all, he gets about 10-15 years. He makes a lot of money.
And I want to flag one more issue. See, this whole process of litigation is a costly process.
Yeah, we cannot afford it.
Every litigant, okay, there may be some very, very good lawyers who are doing it pro bono, and Goa has a lot of lawyers who do it for the people. Undoubtedly, Goa is one of the best states to do it, but even then, there is a lot of money in litigation. Everybody will not charge fees. Some lawyers will charge fees, and it's their profession, rightly so. So there is a lawyer's cost. Then this whole cost of getting your documentation done, photocopying, drafting. I mean, there's expenses gone. Then traveling. I mean, in the sense that okay, your lower courts and high court, but when you're running to the Supreme Court, other things,
Yes.
and even when you're coming from Margao to Panjim, there is a cost involved. I mean, we may not notice it all the time, but you are filling petrol, you are coming, you are going on. Whatever be the case, there is litigation is an expensive issue here. Nobody gets an insurance against litigation. Okay.
So, we are up to High Court, there is no problem.
Yes.
But they go to Supreme Court. We cannant afford it.
That's what I'm saying. And the lawyers are there.
High Court is okay, we
lawyers
can
doing
manage
pro bono
some
here,
or
but
other.
But a
Yes.
Supreme Court lawyer may not do pro bono.
No.
And you can have
don't
likes
do,
of
yes.
Prashant Bhushan and others who would try and do it once in a while. I'm just saying there are so if you can just tell us about the whole thing. When all this happens, how do you all manage your expenses? Donations, people coming up, contributions. Tell us about that, because very few people talk about these things.
Actually, there are no donations as such,
Yeah.
but when people see our work and our hardships that we are facing, they come forward to pay 1 earring or 2 earrings, or they say partly they will do their jobs.
Right.
Some will say that okay, you are going for RTIs, I'll pay the cost.
Right.
Because RTI documents also, they cost a big bomb.
Yeah, to get the RTI
get the
documents,
RTI
for inspection
documents,
and
yeah.
papers of yes.
Then secondly, now to go to a court, first we have to deposit to the advocate certain amount. So it is very difficult. Sometimes, we have to shell out our own money because we need to fight it. We don't want to keep it like
So very
as
often
a
you have to dip into your own savings.
yes, okay. Yeah.
Yes.
That is how it works. And some general, who are very saying to save Goa, some people like Prajal Sakadande, then Jack Sikera, they all come up, they say, okay, this is my contribution, you take it and just fight it.
Sukija.
Yeah, Sukija.
Yeah, right.
So these are the people who just backers, like you do it.
Correct. But
that is not sufficient
Correct.
actually, but
Yeah.
we still have to.
Ravi, coming to the same question, you people have been fighting in that whole North Goa belt. Litigations are happening. You are taking on very big forces. You are taking on people, big establishments and other things. So how do you manage? Because it's very important for people also to know that, look, you people are fighting for the people. You are fighting for the cause of the state. You're not fighting for your own problem. How are you all actually managing? See, the issue is that these battles are not, and I may be excused for saying this, but these battles are not necessarily fought by the multimillionaires. They are fought by common people.
Yes,
So
totally
in the
agree.
sense that, so there is there is a case to be made in this. So just explain to us or share with us the entire process of fighting. How do you all manage? How do you all put things together?
Before starting this, I just want to continue with what Om DeCosta said regarding the sewage discharging outside.
Right.
There is one restaurant or shack called Romeo Lane, which we are fighting in the court.
Right.
It is on just bottom of the beach,
Right.
and the sewage tanks in just where the beach high tide starts or
Right.
inside the sand.
Right.
What
The
I
sewage
don't
tank is there.
inside the sand.
Right.
I don't know how Pollution Control Board given them the permission,
Right.
and it is running since 2019.
Right. Right.
And the sewage is directly discharged inside the sea
Without any treatment, nothing.
without any treatment.
Right.
I filed a complaint in Pollution Control Board. When officials came, they don't find anything.
Hmm.
Not even single thing they will find. But when we go, we find all shit
Hmm.
mounting around on the these caves or on the water. This situation is happening all over coastline. They don't care about any nature. They don't care about the water, and they're completely flouting the rules. Coming to your point, it is any illegal structure is protected by goons, by government officers, by politicians. So for activists like us, is finding lots of difficulties. The goons are behind us. There are lots of pressures. There are pressures from our family members also, saying that why you are going behind them. It might be danger for you.
Right.
But we cannot see that destruction. It is beyond our imagination that so much of destruction is happening. It is happening for whom? For whose benefits? Politicians benefit, and the people who are running the business, and they are making crores of money, and local common
How
people.
do you sustain this in terms of, it's not only about litigation, getting people together, organizing, all this needs money.
Yeah, it is money for, like how Anna said, I am also getting some kind of funds.
Right.
Like we are having one organization called Gulmohar Foundation.
Right.
His hard-earned money he gives to me because looking at my work.
Right.
And Sada, like Prajal also gives me some many
Correct,
times.
correct,
Like to instant, I will tell you my Sarpanch, the present Sarpanch who is there, he also helped me to get some kind of funds to run all these cases. My advocate is also there who takes free of cost. Advocate Rudana Shirodkar, he don't charge any penny from me till today.
Right.
He is fighting, he is drafting for me, he is giving all his support. Like that, we are surviving, you can say,
Right.
to fight against these big people.
Right. One last round, and let's look at some hope or some solutions and not to go about. Do you feel, the time has come for, there are so many people fighting battles in their own areas. Do you feel that there is a possibility in thinking along these lines to have a large joint kind of a body or some kind of a platform where everybody kind of comes on the same platform, all committed people, they put down their needs and their problems, and ultimately there should be a process where right thinking people should get together to see that these litigations, these struggles, there is some kind of an economic model for the fight to continue, where more of Goa joins in this.
If something happens like this, it would be lovely.
Yeah.
It would mean two things, that besides having the funds to be able to challenge all these issues, it would also be a meeting of everybody's minds on the issues.
Correct.
But these things have their time and they have their problems for the moment.
Right.
And not all people who fight actually are looking at the issues. Not all of them. Yeah, some of them are looking at their own personal objectives and things like that, and it's difficult.
Right.
But from what I've seen, 95 to 98% of the people can be brought together. That's quite a big big grouping among all these.
But there are groups fighting everywhere.
There are
And
groups
everybody is knocking on the doors of the court.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
What are your views on this? You're a lawyer yourself. What are your views on? I don't think too many people have given a thought to it. I'm just introducing this so that the debate starts. So, what are your quick views on this, and how do you think we can go forward?
Well, I certainly believe that having a broad-based or a pan-Goa-based consultation with different sorts of activist group coming together, having some sort of a collective and having, as Armin said, discussions, and not only will lead you to a wide variety of ideas and better brainstorming, but it will also give a much more focused approach to dealing with all of these issues in terms of prioritizing what needs to be done first, what can we allocate for this, who can we
Even a
divide and
panel
give
of lawyers can
responsibility.
volunteer to be a part
Exactly,
of this.
that's
There
very
could be a
true.
legal cell
That's
to
very
it
true.
also, correct.
That's very
So, you
so
all
it will
know.
ultimately help in giving a much better and more people-centric and focused approach to dealing with these never-ending sort of illegalities and stuff which is
Yeah,
happening.
because we should take something away from the discussions
Correct.
and put a point which is fresh. So, Anna, your views.
Yeah, I will also go along with them, but I feel that the more we are united, we are firm. And if we just go in one group, no, we will not succeed in this. We should come under one umbrella.
Do you also feel one of the ideas is to, one of the smaller ideas, not a bigger one, is to have maybe one website,
Correct.
essentially one website where all these cases, litigations, everything is put up, the progress is tracked, people can comment on it, so that everybody understands in one platform what are the big battles going, rather than just reading a paper or whatever.
Correct.
Of course, that will always be there, but I'm saying that one can have one platform that is one thought to it. But otherwise, Shriram Babu, your thoughts.
So these suggestions,
Yeah.
I have suggested some 5 years back.
Okay, just tell us a little bit.
There was a meeting in Grace Church.
Okay,
There were 40 NGOs,
I see.
all this RPF or something. Then I said that let us combine.
Hmm.
I don't want any post.
Right.
I made it clear.
Right.
There was ego clash.
Hmm.
Then one father supported me.
See, these ego clashes cannot happen because
It doesn't.
ultimately,
No, problem is I will not get.
go to the grave with your ego.
No, I will not get publicity or
Yes,
this
yes.
one. And that is not 40 NGOs were there.
Right.
Kandgona, Betul or
But what I'm
Kunkoli.
saying is, this is not only about NGOs. It is about just, of course, there are many
Yes.
people who are fighting, incidentally are under some NGO umbrella.
Yes.
But apart from that, this should be for all right-thinking bones. Even people who are not part of any NGO, but who feel that if there is something wrong, we need to raise our voice. This should be a platform for everybody, not only for NGOs. But I get what your point is. But then, are you saying there is no hope? Are you skeptical, or you feel that there is?
No, I don't think there is any hope.
You
We
feel
are,
there is hope.
no,
Okay.
we are fighting.
Yeah.
Now, at least in present state in Goa, 50-60% are against the government. All these issues. But at election time, they vote for them only. This is going on for last several years.
And that becomes a mandate.
Yes.
Right.
They come with us, we solve their problems, and they are having their own problems. But election time, they vote for them and they elect them. Now, where should we go afterwards? Fighting all this. Sometimes mind gets this one. You get the same, but if I stand for election, I will not get 50 votes. Because I don't have capacity to pay to buy the. Now, what is the use of fighting in that case? You see, Malawi or whatever it is, they get elected after we struggle.
This pessimism is disappointing, but I can understand where you're coming from. I can surely
Yes,
understand.
yes.
Though I understand your pessimism and sadness and your will to come together,
Yes.
but I can understand from
But
your
we have to go
experience
on.
that you have
We
to
have
go
to-
on. But
yes.
but Ravi, as a younger person, do you see any ray of hope?
Thing is, I totally agree with the elderly person who is over here, who is having the vast experience. The end part we have to understand is a assembly where all law makes.
Right.
The lawmakers has to be like activist kind of things who have love and passion for the our state. Forget about India. You have to be a passion for our state or the village.
Right.
I don't see any passion or any love towards the nature. I will just finish it with one. I am a Hindu. Before starting the puja of any idol, we do puja of Bhumi first, then Jal, then Vayu. Then we'll start puja of idol. So Hindus has to get in his mind that this is our God. Even though in other religions also they must be treated same thing. Here people has to get this first in mind. Then only we can do something, and we can achieve also. After saving the land, after saving our nature, we can achieve much more. But we don't at all focus on this. Bhumi, that is Vayu, and Jal. If we protect all these things, everything is possible. And another thing is what Sir said. If we contest, we will get not even 50 votes.
You actually ended on a very, very poignant and an important. You touched upon the core of the whole issue. The Bhumi Jal Vayu example that you gave is extremely moving and is probably the one of the best ways to sum it up. That ultimately, whatever we do, unless we respect these three, and greed takes over, this is what's going to happen to our land. And unfortunately, that is most of the battles. I would say every battle revolves around this protection of Goa in some form or the other, and that is where we are. Anyway, this particular discussion, of course, we have unpacked a lot of points, laid down a lot of issues, and of course also mapped and pinpointed a lot of disturbing trends. The positive part is, of course, the court is one door which, when you knock it, it opens. It gives justice. But the worrying part is, even after that justice comes, the justice is denied after it is given, and that is where the new signs of worry are coming in. But that doesn't actually take anything away from the valiant efforts and commitment of people who are litigating, and other people who are also on the streets and who are supporting. Because Goa, of course, if it has an ecosystem of destruction, it also has a very strong ecosystem of warriors against destruction. So the thing is, while there's a lot that has been destroyed in Goa, there is a lot that has been saved so far because of the warriors. So not all is gone, and I think just ground level action, litigation, raising a voice, and hopefully there will be some people in the political ecosystem who will understand it and respond, and maybe a time will come when those are the people who will be getting votes also. But here's hoping. But what is important to know here is that the courts are again and again coming and rescuing us, but the courts also are overburdened. They cannot solve all cases over a period of time. A lot of time gets elapsed, so justice is not delayed, not because of any ill intention of the court, but purely because of the practicality of the situation. But nevertheless, I feel that people who are here, all the panelists who contributed, are all foot soldiers, and the fact that in spite of so much of despondency and disappointment, the fight is still going on, is actually a reflection of some kind of hope. And let us also hope that the dream of having a unified platform, a unified umbrella organization, and everybody fighting together, and of course there are people to guide them, the legal cell and others who can guide, draft. So everything should come under some kind of a structure, and that will also help a genuine right-thinking government to get the right feedback as well. So we should look at it that way. But I can understand, Mr. Aitulkar's disappointment and lack of hope. Of course, he's
system has to be changed.
Correct.
Otherwise, we'll go on fighting till
Agree.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We have to go in system to change that.
Correct.
But people are not allowed.
That's right. On this note, I thank all of you all for spending your time and giving us so many of your insights. And we should come back and keep this conversation going. Thank you very much.
Thank you.